Naomi kept one hand on Lily's bedroom door when the knock came again. "Please," Patricia said from the other side. "I only want to see her." Naomi didn't answer. She was listening to Lily breathe. Patricia's voice lowered. "You've kept her from me for 2 years." That was when Naomi opened the door. Not because Patricia deserved an answer, because Naomi suddenly remembered another doorway, another house, and the night she stood there 8 months pregnant while Patricia told her to leave. Naomi had looked straight at Ethan and waited for one sentence. Just one. Tell her you're staying. He had stood beside his mother and said nothing. Now Patricia was standing on Naomi's porch, asking for the granddaughter Naomi had once carried out of that house alone. Naomi looked toward Lily's room, then back at the woman who had helped break her family. And this time, Naomi knew Ethan's silence would not be the only thing she had to decide. Welcome to Mr. Graham's story, where every story leaves a lesson. Whether you're new here or part of our growing family, thank you for being here. Let me know in the comments where you're watching from, and as the story unfolds, tell me what you would have done in the same situation. If you enjoy stories like this, don't forget to like, comment, share, and subscribe. It helps us bring more meaningful stories to people around the world. Now, let's begin today's story. Naomi looked at Patricia and kept her hand on the front door. "You should leave." Patricia's face tightened. "Naomi, not today." From down the hallway, Lily turned in her bed and gave a small, sleepy sound. Both women went quiet. Naomi looked toward the bedroom. When she looked back, Patricia had taken one step closer. "She's my granddaughter." Naomi's eyes hardened. "That doesn't give you the right to come here." Patricia stared at her. For a moment, neither woman moved. Then Naomi slowly closed the door. The click of the lock sounded louder than it should have. Patricia stood outside for several seconds. Then Naomi heard her footsteps disappear down the walkway. Only after she was gone did Naomi step away from the door. Her hands were shaking. Not because Patricia had surprised her. Naomi had been expecting this day for months. What she hadn't expected was how quickly one sentence could bring back another life. A life where Patricia had a key to their house. A life where Ethan still believed avoiding an argument was the same thing as keeping peace. A life where Naomi had spent too long telling herself that uncomfortable things were not dangerous simply because nobody had shouted. 2 years earlier, none of it had seemed serious enough to leave over. That was the part Naomi would later have trouble explaining. In the beginning, Patricia had not been cruel. She had been helpful. At least that's what it looked like. When Naomi and Ethan got married, Patricia was the one who brought food to their new apartment. She helped Ethan carry boxes. She gave Naomi a set of towels wrapped in a blue ribbon and said, "Every home needs somebody who knows where things are." Naomi laughed. At the time, it sounded like a joke. Patricia laughed too. Ethan kissed his mother's cheek and said, "You see, she's already trying to organize our lives." Patricia pointed at him. "Because somebody has to." Everyone laughed. Naomi did too. The problem was that Patricia never really stopped. At first, it was small. She rearranged Naomi's kitchen cabinets while helping unpack. Naomi came home from work and couldn't find the coffee mugs. Patricia pointed toward a different shelf. "Those made more sense there." Naomi smiled politely. "Oh, okay." Ethan shrugged. "She's just trying to help." Naomi let it go. Then Patricia started dropping by without calling. Sometimes Naomi was happy to see her, sometimes she wasn't. But Patricia always seemed slightly offended if Naomi looked surprised. I was in the neighborhood. Ethan never questioned it. Why would he? Patricia had been part of his life forever. Naomi was the new person adjusting to a system that already existed. And Ethan loved Naomi. Naomi never doubted that. That was what made everything harder. He was thoughtful in the ways Patricia wasn't. He remembered the kind of tea she liked. He rubbed her shoulders when she had a long day. He made her laugh when she took work too seriously. When it was just the two of them, Naomi felt chosen. But around Patricia, Ethan changed in a way she couldn't explain at first. Not into another person. Something quieter than that. He became a son who didn't want to disappoint his mother. And Naomi became the person expected to understand why that mattered. The first real argument happened over dinner. Patricia had invited herself to their apartment for Sunday roast. Naomi had already cooked. Patricia opened the refrigerator and frowned. "You're serving this?" Naomi looked up from the counter. "Yes." Patricia lifted the container of potatoes. "I thought you were making mashed." "I am." "With garlic?" Naomi paused. "Yes." Patricia sighed. "Ethan doesn't like too much garlic." Naomi looked toward her husband. Ethan was setting the table. He heard it. Naomi knew he did. "Ethan?" He looked up. What? You don't like garlic? He hesitated. Naomi noticed. Then he smiled. I mean, I like it. Patricia folded her arms. Not the way you use it. Naomi stared at her. The room became quiet. Ethan looked between them. Then he laughed lightly. Mom knows what I ate when I was 10. Patricia smiled. Naomi didn't. Because Ethan had just made it sound harmless. And maybe it was. Maybe Naomi was being too sensitive. So she finished dinner. Patricia complained about the garlic. Ethan ate 2 servings. Everyone went home without another argument. But later that night, Naomi stood at the sink washing dishes while Ethan dried them. She can't keep talking to me like that. Ethan looked confused. Talking to you like what? Like I'm an employee who made your food wrong. Naomi, come on. There it was. The first time he made her feel unreasonable for noticing something. She was just being mom. Naomi turned off the water. And what am I supposed to be? Ethan looked at her. That's not what I meant. Then what did you mean? He put the dish towel down. I mean, she gets controlling sometimes, you know that. Naomi waited. And it's easier not to take everything personally. Naomi looked at him. That was the first thing she stopped ignoring. Not Patricia's comment. Ethan's solution. Don't confront it. Don't challenge it. Just learn to live around it. Naomi picked up another plate and began washing it. Ethan watched her. Are you mad? No, she wasn't lying. Not yet. But something inside her had changed. Because for the first time, Naomi understood that Patricia's behavior was only half the problem. The other half was standing beside her, waiting for the moment to pass. And Naomi had no idea how expensive that silence would eventually become. For the next few months, Naomi tried to adjust. That was the mistake she would recognize much later. Instead of asking whether Patricia's behavior was acceptable, Naomi kept asking herself whether she could tolerate it. And Ethan made tolerating it sound reasonable. If Patricia criticized something, he told Naomi not to let it get to her. If Patricia gave an opinion nobody had requested, Ethan said, "You know how she is." If Naomi complained, he usually listened. Then he waited for the tension to fade. Naomi began noticing the pattern. Ethan never asked Patricia to stop. One Friday evening, Naomi came home to find Patricia sitting at their kitchen table. She had Ethan's spare key. Naomi stood in the doorway with her purse still over her shoulder. Patricia looked up. "Oh, good. You're home." Naomi slowly set her bag down. "What are you doing here?" Patricia blinked. "Ethan said I could stop by." "He's not here. I know." Naomi looked around the kitchen. Several papers were spread across the table. Her papers. A letter from the fertility specialist. Naomi walked closer. Patricia placed her hand over it. "I was looking for a pen." Naomi stared at her. "Why are you reading my mail?" "I wasn't reading." The lie was small. That almost made it worse. Naomi reached for the envelope. Patricia didn't move her hand. For several seconds, neither woman spoke. Then Patricia removed it. Naomi picked up the letter. It contained information about the fertility appointment she and Ethan had scheduled. A private conversation they had barely shared with anyone. Naomi looked at Patricia. "You went through our things." Patricia folded her arms. "I was worried." "About what?" "You and Ethan have been married for 3 years." Naomi felt the air change. There it was. Patricia looked toward the letter. "I know how much Ethan wants children." Naomi's face hardened. "And you think that's your business?" "I think families are allowed to care about each other." "Care?" Patricia sighed. "Naomi, don't start." Naomi laughed once. It came out without humor. "Don't start what?" "This. What is this, Patricia? The way you turn everything into me attacking you." Naomi stepped closer. "You went through my private mail, and I said I was sorry." "No, you said you were worried." Patricia's mouth tightened. The sound of the front door opening interrupted them. Ethan walked in carrying a grocery bag. He stopped. "What happened?" Naomi turned toward him. "Your mother read my medical mail." Ethan looked at Patricia. "Mom?" Patricia shook her head. "I was looking for a pen." Naomi stared at her. Ethan set the groceries down. "Okay." Naomi waited. "That was all." "Okay." "She went through my mail." "I heard you." "And?" Ethan rubbed the back of his neck. "Mom, you shouldn't have done that." Patricia looked offended. "I said I was sorry." Naomi looked at her. "No, you didn't." Ethan closed his eyes briefly. "Naomi." That one word made her turn. He had said it the way someone spoke to a person making a situation harder than it needed to be. "She shouldn't have done it," he said. "She knows that." Naomi stared at him. "But," "There doesn't have to be a but. There always is." Patricia stood. I should go." Naomi didn't stop her. Ethan didn't either. Patricia picked up her purse. At the door, she looked at Ethan. "Call me later." Then she left. The apartment became quiet. Naomi looked at Ethan. He opened the grocery bag and began taking things out. Milk, bread, coffee. Naomi couldn't believe it. "You're putting groceries away?" Ethan stopped. "What do you want me to do?" Naomi stared at him. "Say something." "I did." "No, you told her she shouldn't have done it." "Because she shouldn't have." "And then what?" Ethan looked frustrated. "What do you want, Naomi? You want me to scream at my mother?" She shook her head. "No, then what?" "I want you to care that it happened." His face softened. "I do care. Not enough to make anything uncomfortable." That landed. Ethan looked away. Naomi felt tears coming and hated herself for it. She wiped one away quickly. "Do you know what hurts the most?" "Naomi." "No, listen." He went quiet. "I can handle your mother being difficult." His eyes lifted. "What I don't understand is why every time she crosses a line, I have to become the difficult one for noticing." Ethan's face changed. For a moment, Naomi thought he understood. Then his phone rang. "Patricia." He looked at the screen. Naomi looked at him. Ethan didn't answer, but he didn't put the phone away either. It kept ringing between them. Finally, he silenced it. "I'm tired," he said. Naomi nodded slowly. "So am I." That night, she slept facing the edge of the bed. Ethan reached toward her once. Naomi pretended to be asleep. A week later, Naomi found out she was pregnant. She stared at the test for a long time. Then she sat on the bathroom floor and laughed. Not because everything was suddenly okay. Because for one brief second she wanted to believe a baby might become the beginning of something better. She held the test against her chest. Ethan was going to be a father. Patricia was going to become a grandmother. And Naomi was going to learn whether a family could survive a problem everyone kept refusing to name. But before she told Ethan, Naomi sat alone in the bathroom and made herself one private promise. This time, she would not ignore the first thing that felt wrong. Naomi waited until after dinner to tell Ethan. He was on the couch, half watching television, when she placed the pregnancy test on the coffee table. Ethan looked down, then back at her. "What is that?" Naomi smiled despite herself. His face changed. He picked it up. For several seconds, he didn't say anything. Then he looked at Naomi again. "Wait." She nodded. His eyes filled. "Are you serious?" Naomi laughed. "Yes." Ethan stood so quickly he knocked his knee against the table. Then he pulled her into his arms. Naomi held him. For a little while, nothing else mattered. Not Patricia. Not the argument about the mail. Not the uncomfortable silence that had been growing inside their marriage. Ethan pressed his face against her hair. "We're having a baby." Naomi closed her eyes. "We're having a baby." That night, he touched her stomach even though there was nothing to see yet. Naomi laughed at him. "You know the baby can't feel you doing that." "I know." "Then why are you doing it?" "Because I'm a father now." She smiled. For the first time in months, Ethan looked completely uncomplicated. Naomi wanted to stay inside that moment. She almost believed she could. The next morning, Patricia called. Ethan told her. Naomi heard the scream from the kitchen. "Mom, relax." Patricia was already talking about coming over. Ethan covered the phone. "She wants to bring breakfast." Naomi hesitated. He noticed. "Just breakfast." Ethan smiled. "I'll handle it." The words were casual, but Naomi remembered them. "I'll handle it." Patricia arrived 40 minutes later with a bakery box, orange juice, and a folder. Naomi noticed the folder immediately. "What's that?" Patricia smiled. "Nothing important." That meant it was important. They sat at the table. Patricia opened the folder. Inside were printed articles, prenatal vitamins, hospital recommendations, a list of doctors. Naomi stared. Patricia beamed. "I stayed up half the night." Ethan laughed. "Mom." "What?" I got excited. Naomi looked through the pages. Some of it was helpful. That was the problem. Patricia was rarely entirely wrong. She was always mixed with enough concern to make resistance look unreasonable. Then Patricia pointed to a doctor's name. "I think you should see her." Naomi looked at it. "I already have an OB." Patricia's smile faded slightly. "I know, but this doctor is better." "Mine is fine." Patricia looked at Ethan. He looked back at Naomi. Naomi noticed the movement. That small, familiar triangle. Patricia speaks. Naomi resists. Ethan gets pulled into the middle. "I think Naomi should use whoever she's comfortable with," he said. Naomi looked at him. Patricia's face changed, just slightly. Then she smiled. "Of course." Naomi didn't miss it. Ethan had finally said something, small but direct. After Patricia left, Naomi found him in the kitchen. You handled it. Ethan looked confused. The doctor. He shrugged. Yeah. Naomi leaned against the counter. Thank you. He smiled. See? I can survive disagreeing with my mother. Naomi laughed. Don't get cocky. He came over and kissed her forehead. For a while, things improved. Not perfectly, but enough to make Naomi hopeful. Ethan spoke up when Patricia offered unsolicited advice. Patricia didn't like it, but she adjusted. Naomi began believing the baby had forced them to grow up. Then, during her 7th month, Naomi went for an ultrasound appointment alone. Ethan had planned to come. An emergency meeting at work kept him away. He apologized 3 times. Naomi understood. At least, she thought she did. When she returned home, she heard voices inside. Patricia was there. Naomi stopped in the hallway. I told you not to bring it up like that, Ethan said. Naomi couldn't hear Patricia's reply. Then Ethan said, No, she's my wife. Naomi froze. Patricia spoke again, louder this time. Naomi stepped closer. She is making decisions that affect my grandchild. Ethan exhaled sharply. Our child. And that makes you responsible for making sure she isn't being selfish. Naomi felt her hand tighten around her purse. Selfish. Ethan said something too quietly for her to hear. Patricia continued. She wants to move before the baby comes. She doesn't want me at the birth. She wants everything her way. Naomi opened the door. Both of them turned. Ethan's face fell. Patricia smiled too quickly. There she is. Naomi looked at Ethan. What is this? He didn't answer. Patricia stood. We were talking. About me. About the baby. Naomi looked directly at her. You just called me selfish. Patricia's smile disappeared. I said you're making decisions without considering everyone else. Naomi stared. Ethan stepped forward. Mom. Patricia ignored him. Naomi looked at her husband. You said you would handle this. I have. No. Naomi's voice remained quiet. That isn't the same thing. Ethan looked exhausted. I talked to her. And she listened? Patricia folded her arms. I am standing right here. Naomi turned toward her. Then hear me. The room changed. Naomi rested one hand over her stomach. I am the one carrying this baby. Patricia's expression hardened. And nobody gets to turn my pregnancy into a family committee. Silence. Ethan stood between them. For once, he didn't look away. She's right, Mom. Patricia looked at him. Naomi waited. Ethan continued. You need to stop. Brief. But Naomi saw it. Not sadness, not guilt. A challenge. She picked up her purse. Fine. She walked toward the door. Then she stopped beside Ethan. I hope you know what you're choosing. Naomi watched his face. It lasted less than a second, but it lasted. Ethan looked shaken. Then he said, I'm choosing my wife. Patricia left. The door closed. Naomi stood in the middle of the room. Ethan came toward her. You okay? Naomi nodded. Then she shook her head. I don't know. He reached for her. She let him hold her. But something had changed, not because Ethan had failed. This time he had done what she needed him to do. The problem was Patricia's face as she walked out. She hadn't looked defeated. She had looked like someone who had just been told the rules had changed. And Naomi had the uneasy feeling Patricia was not finished testing them. Patricia did not call for almost 2 weeks. Naomi noticed. She hated that she noticed. By then she was 8 months pregnant, and every quiet day felt like borrowed peace. Ethan came home earlier. He cooked more. He rubbed Naomi's swollen feet while pretending not to be annoyed whenever Lily kicked his hand. For a little while, Naomi let herself believe the worst was behind them. Then Patricia invited them to dinner. Naomi didn't want to go. You don't have to, Ethan said. Naomi looked at him. She invited us. Mom can survive hearing no. Naomi studied his face. Can she? Ethan sighed. I'll be there. It wasn't a perfect answer. But Naomi wanted to believe him, so they went. The first half of dinner was almost painfully normal. Patricia asked about the baby. Ethan talked about work. Naomi kept waiting for something sharp to come hidden inside a harmless sentence. Nothing did. Then Patricia placed her fork down. I've been thinking about the nursery. Naomi glanced at Ethan. What about it? You still haven't shown me. Naomi gave a small smile. It's not finished. I could help. We've got it. Patricia nodded slowly. Of course you do. Naomi heard it. Ethan did too. Mom. Patricia looked at him. What? Don't. The table went quiet. Naomi looked at her husband. For 1 second she felt that old hope again. Patricia leaned back. I am trying very hard here. Naomi swallowed. Trying what? Patricia looked directly at her. Trying to have a relationship with my son without feeling like I have to ask permission from his wife. Ethan pushed his chair back. That's not what's happening. Oh, isn't it? No. Patricia turned to Naomi. Ever since you got pregnant, you've acted as though this child belongs to you alone. Naomi stared at her. I'm the child's mother. And I'm the grandmother. Mom, Ethan warned. Patricia ignored him. You moved away from me. You don't want me at the hospital. You make decisions and announce them afterward. Naomi's chest tightened. I don't owe you a vote. The room went completely still. Patricia stood. There it is. Naomi stood too. There what is? The truth. Ethan got up quickly. Both of you, stop. Naomi turned toward him. No. Her voice shook now. I've spent months stopping. Patricia grabbed the edge of the table. This family existed before you came into it. Naomi's face changed. Ethan saw it. Mom, and it will exist after you. The words hung there. Patricia seemed to realize what she had said, only after it was already too late. Naomi stared at her. Ethan went pale. Apologize. Patricia looked at him. I didn't mean... Apologize. Naomi picked up her purse. Ethan reached for her. Naomi. She stepped away. I want to go. Okay. Patricia laughed bitterly. So that's it? Naomi looked at her. No. Her voice was quiet. That was the moment I stopped pretending you didn't mean what you were doing. She headed for the door. Patricia followed. Fine. If you're going to keep making this family miserable, then leave. Naomi stopped. Everything inside her went still. Ethan was behind her. Patricia's breathing sounded loud in the silence. Naomi turned around. She looked at Patricia. Then she looked directly at Ethan. 8 months pregnant. Standing by the front door, waiting. Not for a speech, not for an apology, just one sentence. Tell her I am staying. Ethan's mouth opened. Nothing came out. Patricia looked at him. Ethan. Naomi never took her eyes off him. He looked terrified. Not of losing Naomi, not yet, of what speaking would do. And in that moment, Naomi understood something she had been avoiding for years. Ethan loved her, but whenever loving her required courage against his mother, love alone was not enough. Naomi reached for the door. Ethan finally moved. Naomi, wait. She stopped. For 1 second, hope rose again. Then he said, let's just calm down. Naomi closed her eyes. When she opened them, something had already ended. That's what you always do. She walked out. Behind her, Ethan called her name. She kept walking. She made it to the driveway before she heard the front door open again. Naomi. She turned. Ethan stood on the porch. His mother was still visible behind him. Naomi waited. Ethan looked at her, then at Patricia, then back at Naomi. And once again, he said nothing. Naomi got into the car. She drove away with both hands gripping the steering wheel and tears blurring the road ahead. But the thing that hurt most wasn't that Patricia had told her to leave. It was that Ethan had watched her go. And for the first time, Naomi stopped believing he would ever be the man who came after her. Naomi made it 3 blocks before she pulled over. Her hands were shaking too badly to keep driving. She parked beside a closed pharmacy and pressed both palms against the steering wheel. Then she called Ethan. He answered immediately. Naomi. She almost hung up. Don't. His voice changed. Where are you? That doesn't matter. It matters to me. Naomi laughed once, but there was no humor in it. Did it matter 5 minutes ago? Ethan went silent. She looked through the windshield. I stood there waiting for you. I know. No, you don't. Naomi, you know what you did. That's different. He exhaled. I should have said something. The words were so close to what she had needed, but they were already late. You should have said it when I was standing in front of you. I was trying to keep things from getting worse. Naomi closed her eyes. There it is. What? You still think that's what you were doing? Of course I do. No, Ethan. You were trying to keep your mother from being angry. That isn't fair. Naomi stared ahead. Isn't it? He said nothing. That hurt more than if he had argued. She ended the call. Ethan called back twice. She didn't answer. By midnight, Naomi was sitting on the edge of a bed in a small guest room at her friend Renee's apartment, staring at the overnight bag she had packed in a hurry. She had brought maternity clothes, her prenatal vitamins, her phone charger. Nothing that looked like a life. That was when the reality of what she had done finally reached her. She had left her husband. She was 8 months pregnant, and she had no idea where she would sleep the following week. Renee stood in the doorway. You need anything? Naomi shook her head. You hungry? Another shake. Renee came in anyway and sat beside her. Naomi looked at the floor. I thought he would stop me. Renee didn't answer immediately. I know. Naomi's eyes filled. I didn't want him to chase me. I know. I wanted him to say I didn't have to leave. Renee reached over and took her hand. Naomi finally cried. Not loudly. That would have been easier. She covered her face and cried until she couldn't breathe properly. Ethan arrived at Renee's apartment early the next morning. Naomi saw his car through the window. Her first instinct was relief. Her second was anger at herself for feeling it. He looked exhausted when Renee opened the door. I need to talk to my wife. Renee glanced toward Naomi. Naomi nodded. Ethan stepped inside. He saw the overnight bag beside the couch. His face fell. Is that all you brought? Naomi crossed her arms. I didn't plan this. I know. He stood there for a moment. Then he said, I'm sorry. Naomi looked at him. I should have defended you. The words landed differently this time, because he looked as if he finally understood what he had failed to do. Naomi's anger softened despite herself. Ethan saw it. He stepped closer. Come home. Her eyes dropped. Part of her wanted to. That was the worst part. She could see their bed, her clothes in the closet, the unfinished nursery, the ordinary life she had left sitting inside that house. Then Naomi looked back at him. If I come back tonight, what happens when your mother tells me to leave again? Ethan answered quickly. That won't happen again. Naomi waited. He noticed. What? Why? His face tightened. Because I'll make sure it doesn't. How? I'll talk to her. Naomi's expression changed. Ethan stopped. He heard himself too late. Naomi, I'll set boundaries. You said that before. This time is different. How? I don't know. The honesty surprised them both. Naomi looked away. Ethan reached for her hand. She pulled it back. I love you, he said. Naomi closed her eyes. I know. Then don't do this. She looked at him. Don't do what? Don't leave. For a second, he looked like he wanted to take the words back. Naomi felt something inside her break again. I'm not doing this to you. That isn't what I meant. But it's what you said. Ethan looked down. I just want my family. Naomi rested one hand over her stomach. So do I. Then come home. Naomi swallowed. Home is where I was told to leave yesterday. My mom was angry. And what were you? He looked at her. Naomi waited. Ethan couldn't answer, because anger wasn't what had frightened him. It was the possibility that choosing Naomi would cost him the relationship he had always had with Patricia. And Naomi was finally seeing the truth clearly. He wanted her back, but he still had not decided what he was willing to lose to keep her safe. Naomi picked up her overnight bag. Ethan stepped aside. What are you doing? I'm staying here. For how long? I don't know. His face tightened. Naomi, please. She looked at him. I needed one sentence from you. He stood completely still. And now? Naomi's grip tightened around the bag. Now I need more than one. She walked past him. Ethan didn't stop her, but as Naomi disappeared into the hallway, he understood something he hadn't understood the night before. Naomi had not left because she stopped loving him. She had left because she no longer trusted love to protect her, and for the first time, Ethan was afraid that apologizing might not be enough to bring her back. Lily was born 11 days later. Naomi went into labor before sunrise. Renee drove her to the hospital. Ethan was there before Naomi was admitted. For 1 second, standing beside the hospital bed with fear written all over his face, he looked like the man she had married. I'm here, he said. Naomi nodded. That was all she had the strength to give him. The labor was long. By the time Lily arrived, Naomi was exhausted beyond anything she had imagined. Then the nurse placed her daughter against her chest. Everything became quiet. Lily was tiny, warm, and angry about being awake. Naomi laughed through her tears. Ethan stood beside the bed crying openly. She has your nose, he whispered. She was born 5 seconds ago. I can tell. Naomi smiled. For that brief moment they looked like a family. That was what made the months afterward so complicated. Ethan came to see Lily. He brought diapers. He learned how to hold her without looking terrified. He stayed late when Naomi needed sleep. Sometimes they laughed. Sometimes Naomi watched him rocking Lily and remembered exactly why she had fallen in love with him. Then he would leave, and Naomi would lock the door behind him. The distance between them became its own routine. She never stopped loving him overnight. It disappeared slowly, mixed with disappointment, and the growing realization that she could not build her life around waiting for Ethan to become brave. Patricia stayed away. Ethan told Naomi she wanted to meet Lily. Naomi's answer was always the same. No, he stopped asking. That didn't mean the problem was gone. It was simply waiting. One night when Lily was almost 4 months old, Naomi woke to a sound she had never heard before. Lily was crying, not the usual hungry cry. This was sharp and desperate. Naomi sat up immediately. Lily felt hot, too hot. Naomi grabbed the thermometer. The numbers appeared. Naomi stared at them. Her hands began shaking. She called the pediatrician's after-hours line. The nurse asked questions Naomi could barely answer. Then she was told to take Lily to the emergency room. Naomi dressed her daughter with trembling hands. She called Renee. No answer. Again, nothing. Naomi stood in the kitchen holding Lily against her chest. Then her eyes fell on her phone. Ethan's name. One tap. He could be here. Naomi stared at it. Lily cried against her shoulder. Naomi almost pressed the button. Then another memory came back. Not Patricia. Ethan, standing on the porch, watching. Naomi lowered the phone. She grabbed her keys. The emergency room was bright and cold. Lily was examined quickly. The doctor said it was a viral infection and that they had caught it early. Naomi sat in the small room holding her daughter while Lily finally slept. Only then did Naomi begin crying. Not because Lily was going to be okay, because Naomi had been terrified, and when fear had stripped everything else away, she still hadn't trusted herself to call Ethan. The next morning, Ethan came by to see Lily. Naomi was standing in the kitchen when he arrived. He kissed Lily's forehead. Then he looked at Naomi. You okay? Naomi nodded. Yeah. He stayed for 20 minutes. He changed Lily's diaper. He made a joke about being better at it than Naomi. Naomi laughed, despite herself. When he left, she almost told him. Almost said, Lily was sick last night. Almost said, I needed you. But she didn't. And Ethan walked out without knowing that his name had been the first one she looked at. Months later, he came over while Naomi was feeding Lily. Lily kept grabbing at Naomi's shirt. Ethan watched and smiled. She does that when she's tired? Usually. He sat beside them. For a few minutes, everything felt easy. Too easy. Naomi handed him a bottle. Lily accepted it. Ethan looked down at his daughter. I miss this. Naomi didn't answer. Us. Her hands went still. Ethan looked at her. I know I messed up. Naomi nodded once. But maybe we don't have to stay here forever. Where? Like this. Naomi leaned back. Ethan continued carefully. Separated. There it was. The word neither of them had wanted to say. He looked hopeful. And Naomi hated that part of her still responded. Then Ethan said, maybe we can stop living in the past. Naomi looked at him. Have you? He frowned. What? Stop living in it. I don't know what you mean. Naomi glanced toward Lily, then back at him. Have you told your mother what she did? Ethan looked away. Naomi already knew. You haven't. I told her she was wrong. When? After you left. And she knows. Naomi waited. Ethan's silence answered the rest. You still talk to her. She's my mother. I didn't ask if she was your mother. His jaw tightened. Naomi continued quietly. Did you tell her she was not allowed to tell me where I belonged? Naomi. Did you? He rubbed his face. We've talked about it. Naomi nodded slowly. That phrase again. We've talked about it. The place where everything went to disappear. Naomi believed him. That was what hurt. He was trying. Just not hard enough to change the life he wanted her to return to. Naomi looked at him holding their daughter. I love you. Ethan looked up. Hope flashed across his face. Naomi swallowed. But I don't trust you. His expression fell. The room stayed quiet. Then Lily made a small sound and reached for Ethan's shirt. He looked down at her. Naomi watched him hold their daughter, and for the first time she understood something she had been afraid to admit. Loving Ethan did not mean going back to him. Outside, a car door closed somewhere in the street. Inside, Lily fell asleep between two people who still cared for each other. But the family Naomi had once imagined was gone. Not because they had stopped loving, because love had never been the part that failed. The part that failed was what Ethan was willing to do when love needed protection. and Naomi finally stopped waiting to find out whether he would ever change. 2 years passed without a dramatic ending. No final court scene, no shouting match that settled everything. Naomi simply stopped waiting. She found a small townhouse in Columbus with a narrow front porch and a kitchen Lily could run through without disappearing around a corner. It wasn't the home Naomi had imagined when she married Ethan, but it was hers. Nobody had a key except Naomi. Nobody entered without knocking. Nobody could stand in the doorway and tell her to leave. That mattered more than she expected. By the time Lily turned 2, Naomi had learned how to do nearly everything with one hand. Make breakfast while answering emails. Fold laundry while Lily followed her around wearing one shoe. Hold a serious phone conversation while a toddler repeatedly asked why bananas didn't have pockets. Some days were exhausting. Some were funny. Most were both. Naomi had changed too. She still replayed the old nights sometimes, but less often now. The woman who had once waited for Ethan to say the right thing had slowly become someone who made decisions without waiting to be rescued from them. Ethan remained part of Lily's life. He came regularly. Lily knew him as Daddy. Naomi never tried to interfere with that relationship. She had been tempted once or twice during the worst months when anger made every connection feel dangerous. But Lily had done nothing wrong. Neither had Ethan, as a father. That distinction took Naomi time to understand. Ethan was gentle with Lily, reliable now. More reliable than he had ever been with Naomi, and sometimes that hurt. One Saturday, he arrived carrying a stuffed rabbit almost as large as Lily. Lily screamed with delight. "Daddy!" Ethan lifted her into the air. Naomi stood by the doorway and watched. "That's too big," she said. "It was the last one." "That doesn't make it less big." Lily hugged the rabbit. "Mine." Ethan looked at Naomi. "See? She understands value." Naomi laughed, then stopped. For 1 second they both remembered how naturally laughter used to come between them. Ethan looked down. Naomi stepped back. The moment passed. He stayed for dinner. Lily fell asleep against his shoulder halfway through a cartoon. Ethan carried her to bed carefully. Naomi watched from the hallway. When he returned, he stood there awkwardly. "You doing okay?" Naomi leaned against the wall. "I'm tired." Yeah, that was it. He could have asked more. She could have said more. Neither did. 2 years had taught them both that silence could become permanent if nobody knew how to cross it. Ethan left. Naomi locked the door. Across town, Patricia had also learned what absence could do. At first, she believed Naomi's anger would pass. She assumed time would soften things. Naomi had always seemed reasonable. Patricia had mistaken that for being easy to push. When Lily was born and Patricia was not allowed to visit, she was furious. She told herself Naomi was punishing everyone. Then 6 months passed, then a year, then 2, and Lily continued growing. Patricia heard about milestones through Ethan. First words, first steps, a favorite color, a habit of refusing vegetables unless they were cut into small pieces. Each detail irritated Patricia because she had not been there to see it. Still, she blamed Naomi. It was easier. Then, one afternoon, Patricia saw a photograph on Ethan's phone. Lily was sitting in Naomi's kitchen wearing a paper crown. Cake was smeared across her cheek. Naomi stood behind her, laughing. Patricia reached for the phone. "Is that from her birthday?" Ethan pulled it slightly back. "Yes. I didn't know you had a party. We kept it small." Patricia's mouth tightened. "I could have come." Ethan looked at her. The room changed. Patricia noticed it. "What?" He said nothing at first. Then he placed the phone on the table. "You really don't understand, do you?" Patricia stared at him. "Understand what?" Ethan rubbed his forehead. For 2 years he had avoided saying everything clearly. But something had changed. Maybe watching Lily grow without his mother had finally forced him to see what his silence had protected. "She doesn't trust you." Patricia's face hardened. "Naomi has made sure of that." "No." The words stopped her. Ethan looked directly at his mother. "You did." Patricia stood. "You're blaming me now?" "I blame Naomi for enough." "You think you're innocent?" "No." His voice was quiet. "And that's the problem." Patricia looked away. Ethan continued. "You told her to leave. I was angry. She was 8 months pregnant." "I know that. You watched her wait for me." Patricia's expression shifted. "I told you to say something. After." Silence. Ethan picked up his keys. Patricia folded her arms. "So what? I apologize again and Naomi suddenly lets me play grandmother?" Ethan looked at her. "No." The answer surprised her. Then what am I supposed to do? Ethan stopped at the door. For years, Patricia had been the person with answers. Now her son looked at her as though she had finally reached a problem she couldn't control. I don't know. Then he left. Patricia stood alone in the kitchen. On the table, Ethan's phone had left a faint rectangle in the dust. She stared at it. For the first time, Lily did not feel like an idea, or a future, or something Patricia believed she was entitled to. She was a little girl who was growing up somewhere else, and Patricia had no place in the memories she was making. That realization followed her to work. It would not leave quietly. The next week, Patricia was at school when a grandmother demanded to see her. Patricia was the principal, and the secretary looked uneasy when she brought the woman to her office. She says she won't leave. Patricia sighed. Send her in. The woman entered carrying a large handbag and a look Patricia recognized immediately. Angry. Certain. Prepared to explain why everyone else was wrong. My daughter-in-law is keeping my grandson from me, the woman said before sitting down. Patricia motioned toward the chair. Please. The woman sat. I've done nothing to deserve this. Patricia folded her hands on the desk. What happened? The woman began talking. At first, Patricia found herself agreeing with much of it. The child's parents had moved out. The grandmother had offered advice about school, food, discipline, and medical appointments. They're young, she said. Somebody has to tell them when they're making mistakes. Patricia nodded slowly. And now? Now she says I'm controlling. Patricia's mouth tightened. She said that? Exactly like that. The woman shook her head. I've raised children. She thinks she knows better than me. Patricia glanced toward the closed office door. Did your son say anything? The grandmother hesitated. He doesn't need to get involved. Something about that answer caught Patricia's attention. She looked back at the woman. Why not? Because she's the one creating the problem. Patricia waited. The grandmother continued. I've been nothing but good to that family. Patricia's eyes dropped to the papers on her desk. A moment passed. Then she asked, Has your daughter-in-law ever asked you to stop doing something? The woman frowned. What? Has she ever clearly told you that she wanted you to give her space? The woman shifted. She doesn't appreciate help. That wasn't an answer. Patricia felt something uncomfortable move inside her. The grandmother kept talking. She says I make decisions for them. That's ridiculous. Patricia looked up. The woman leaned forward. I told her if she wants me to stay in her life, she needs to learn how to respect family. Patricia went still. The sentence was different. The meaning wasn't. She heard Naomi's voice in her head. I don't owe you a vote. Patricia's expression changed. The grandmother noticed. What? Nothing. But it wasn't nothing. The conversation continued until the child's mother was brought into the office. She arrived 20 minutes later. Tired. Guarded. Nothing about her seemed eager for a fight. That bothered Patricia more than if she had come in angry. The grandmother immediately started speaking. The young mother stood quietly until Patricia raised a hand. Please, let her speak. The grandmother leaned back. The young woman looked at Patricia. I never said she couldn't see him. The grandmother scoffed. Here we go. Patricia looked at her sharply. The woman stopped. The young mother continued. I said she can't keep coming to my house and changing things after I tell her not to. Patricia felt her chest tighten. She goes through his room. She gives him food I tell her not to give him. She tells him I'm too strict. The grandmother opened her mouth. The young mother turned toward her. Every time she has to choose between loving us and controlling us, she chooses control. The room went silent. Patricia felt as though someone had spoken directly into her. The grandmother laughed bitterly. I am trying to help you. I know, the young mother said. Her voice broke. That's the part you keep saying, but your help always ends with you deciding. Patricia couldn't look away. The young mother lowered her eyes. I don't hate her. I don't want my son to lose his grandmother. I just want to be his mother without being punished for it. Patricia heard every word, because suddenly she could see another woman, Naomi, 8 months pregnant, standing by a door, asking for the simplest thing, to be allowed to make decisions about her own life. The grandmother was still talking when Patricia ended the meeting. She barely remembered how. By the time she reached her car, her hands were shaking. She sat behind the wheel for several minutes. Then she went home. That evening she opened a drawer she hadn't touched in months. At the back was a small box. Inside was a pair of yellow baby socks. She had bought them after Ethan told her Naomi was pregnant. Patricia held them in her hand. She remembered being excited, genuinely excited. That was the truth. She had loved the idea of Lily before Lily was born, but another truth came with it. Patricia had believed excitement gave her a place of authority. She had believed concern gave her permission. She had believed being Ethan's mother meant she could decide who belonged around him. Her eyes filled. For 2 years, Patricia had told herself Naomi took Lily away from her. Sitting alone in the quiet house, she finally understood the difference. Naomi had not taken Lily away. Patricia had pushed Lily's mother out, and once she did, Naomi had simply refused to bring her daughter back into the same danger. Patricia closed the box, then opened it again. The socks were still there, but the little girl who should have worn them was already 2 years old. Patricia put the box down and reached for her phone. Her thumb hovered over Naomi's number. She wanted to type an apology. She wanted to explain that she understood now. Then she stopped. Understanding something did not mean Naomi owed her access to Lily. Patricia put the phone down, but the next morning she picked it up again. This time she made the call, and when Naomi answered, Patricia heard Lily laughing somewhere in the background. For 1 second, Patricia nearly forgot everything she had finally learned. "I want to see my granddaughter," she said. The silence on the other end told her immediately. She still had a long way to go. Naomi almost ended the call. For a moment she said nothing. Lily was in the living room, laughing at something on television. Patricia heard it. "Is that her?" Naomi closed her eyes. "Yes." Another silence. Patricia's voice softened. "Could I see her?" Naomi looked toward the living room. 2 years. One question. And suddenly Patricia was asking to step into a life she had never helped Naomi build. "No!" Patricia inhaled sharply. "Naomi, please. You called me." "I know. You didn't call to apologize. You called to ask for Lily." Patricia went quiet. Naomi leaned against the kitchen counter. For the first time, she wasn't angry. That was almost worse. "I have thought about what I did," Patricia said. "Have you?" "Yes." "Then start there." Patricia hesitated. Naomi waited. Finally, Patricia said, "I know I made mistakes." Naomi's eyes hardened. "Mistakes?" Patricia stopped. The word had sounded smaller the moment it left her mouth. Naomi continued. "You told me to leave when I was 8 months pregnant." "I know. You stood in your son's house and acted like you had the right to decide whether I belonged there." "I know. And now you called me because you want something." Patricia's breathing changed. "I miss her." Naomi nodded slowly. "You've missed 2 years." Patricia's voice cracked. "I've lost 2 years with my granddaughter." Naomi straightened. "No." The word came quietly. Patricia stopped. Naomi looked toward Lily again. "You didn't lose them, Patricia." She paused. "You chose them." The silence afterward was immediate. Patricia's voice hardened. "I didn't choose to be kept away." "No. You chose to make me leave. You left." Naomi's face changed. There it was. Not guilt, not understanding. The old argument waiting underneath the apology. "I left because you told me to. I was angry. So was I. That doesn't mean you had to take Lily away from me." Naomi laughed once. "Lily wasn't even born." Patricia said nothing. "You still don't understand. I am trying. Trying to see her." Patricia's tone sharpened. "Don't act like you haven't made choices too." Naomi stood completely still. "Yes." Patricia seemed surprised. "I have." The answer came without defense. "I chose not to return to a house where I had been told to leave. I chose not to let you near my daughter when I didn't trust you. Those were choices." Her voice lowered. "But they came after yours." Patricia swallowed. Naomi continued. "And you know what the difference is?" Patricia didn't answer. "I don't regret mine." Naomi ended the call. She stood in the kitchen for several seconds, staring at the dark screen. Then she heard small footsteps behind her. "Mommy?" Naomi turned. Lily stood there holding her stuffed rabbit. "Who was that?" Naomi's heart tightened. "Nobody you need to worry about." Lily considered that answer. Then she pointed toward the hallway. "Daddy?" "No." "Renee?" "No." Lily frowned. Naomi smiled despite herself. "You know too many people." Lily hugged the rabbit. Then she looked toward the phone. "Who?" Naomi hesitated. "It was someone from Daddy's family." Lily's face brightened. "Daddy has family?" Naomi stared at her. Of course. To Lily, Ethan wasn't connected to the story Naomi carried. He was simply Daddy, and if Daddy had a mother, Then somewhere inside Lily's small understanding was a person Naomi had never introduced her to. That evening, Naomi went looking for an old box of photographs. She found it in the closet, beneath winter clothes. She hadn't opened it in years. Inside were pictures from her wedding, a few from early in her marriage. Naomi flipped through them carefully. Then she found one of Patricia. Patricia was standing beside Ethan at a family cookout, smiling toward the camera. Naomi stared at the photograph. Lily climbed onto the couch beside her. "Who's that?" Naomi almost put the picture away. Instead, she looked at it, then at Lily. "That's your grandma." Lily looked back at the photograph. "My grandma?" Naomi nodded. Lily studied Patricia's face, then she smiled. "Where is she?" Naomi had no answer. 2-year-old. "Not here," she said finally. Lily accepted that for the moment. Then she climbed down and ran after her rabbit. Naomi stayed on the couch. The photograph remained in her hand. For 2 years, the question had been simple. Was Patricia safe enough to be near Lily? Naomi still didn't know. But now another question had appeared, one she had never wanted to ask. If Patricia truly changed, would Naomi be protecting Lily by keeping her away forever? Or would she eventually be making Lily live inside a decision that had begun with Naomi's own pain? Naomi put the photograph back in the box, but she did not close the lid. And for the first time since Lily was born, Patricia was no longer only standing outside the story. She had become a question inside Naomi's home. 3 days after Naomi showed Lily the photograph, there was another knock at the door. Naomi knew who it was before she opened it. Patricia stood outside with empty hands. No flowers, no gift, no photograph of herself with Ethan. That was the first thing Naomi noticed. "What do you want?" Naomi asked. Patricia looked nervous. "I was hoping you might give me 5 minutes." Naomi stayed in the doorway. "You have 3. Patricia nodded. She didn't argue. Naomi waited. Patricia looked down at the porch for a moment, as if she had practiced the conversation and suddenly forgotten the first line. Then she looked up. "The last time I called you, I did it again." Naomi said nothing. "I called because I wanted something. Yes, I wanted Lily. Yes," Patricia swallowed. "And when you reminded me what I did, I started defending myself." Naomi folded her arms. Patricia continued. "I told you that you left. You did." "Yes." Patricia's eyes filled, but Naomi's expression didn't change. "I'm not going to stand here and tell you I was having a bad day, or that I was worried, or that I was trying to help." Naomi watched her carefully. "Good." Patricia gave a small, painful nod. "Because none of that changes what I did." The house was quiet behind Naomi. Lily was napping. Naomi had almost ignored the knock, because she had spent the entire morning wondering whether Lily's question had made her too curious, too open, too willing to reconsider something that should have stayed closed. Now Patricia was standing there, and Naomi still didn't know what to do with her. Patricia took a breath. "I told you to leave when you were 8 months pregnant." Naomi's eyes narrowed slightly. "I believed I had the right to decide whether you belonged in my son's family." Patricia's voice became less steady. "I watched you look at Ethan and wait for him to stop me." Naomi felt something tighten in her chest. Patricia looked directly at her, and I knew he was going to stay quiet. That landed differently. Naomi didn't move. Patricia continued. "I knew my son. I knew what happened when I pushed him into a corner. He avoided conflict. He always has." "Then why did you do it?" Patricia looked away. Naomi stepped onto the porch. "Why?" Patricia's mouth opened. Nothing came out. Naomi waited. Finally, Patricia said, "Because I thought being his mother meant I could." The answer was ugly, and because of that, Naomi believed it. No excuse, no polished explanation, just the truth. Patricia wiped beneath one eye. "I thought if I had concerns, I was allowed to interfere. I thought if I disagreed with you, I could push harder until Ethan agreed with me." Naomi's voice was quiet. "And Lily?" Patricia looked toward the house. "I wasn't thinking about Lily." Naomi's face changed. Patricia nodded quickly. "I know, that's the problem." For the first time, Naomi had nothing ready to say. Patricia went on. "I wasn't thinking about what it meant to send a pregnant woman away. I wasn't thinking about what would happen after the argument. I was thinking about winning." Naomi looked at her. The honesty was uncomfortable. A clean apology might have been easier to reject. This wasn't clean. Patricia looked down again. I have spent 2 years blaming you because blaming you allowed me to believe I was the victim. Naomi said nothing. I was angry because I wasn't invited to Lily's birthdays. I was angry because I didn't get pictures. I was angry because I didn't get to hold her. Her voice broke. And somehow I kept making all of that more important than the reason you didn't trust me. The front door opened wider behind Naomi. A small sound came from inside. Lily. Patricia immediately stepped backward. Naomi noticed. She's awake, Patricia said. Yes. Patricia moved another step away. I should go. Naomi frowned. Patricia looked toward the house, but didn't try to see inside. I didn't come here to meet her. Naomi studied her. Then why did you come? To apologize. Patricia's voice was barely above a whisper. And to tell you that I'm sorry without asking you to give me anything back. Naomi looked at her for a long time. Patricia's shoulders dropped. If you never trust me, I understand. You say that now. I know. If I tell you no again, then it's no. Naomi searched her face. And you won't call Ethan? No. You won't tell him I am keeping his daughter from your family? No. You won't show up here? Patricia shook her head. No. Naomi didn't invite her inside. She didn't forgive her. She didn't say she believed her. But something had shifted. Not trust. Not even hope. Uncertainty. And uncertainty was dangerous because it meant the past was no longer giving Naomi an easy answer. Patricia turned to leave. Patricia. She stopped. Naomi almost asked her why she had changed. Almost asked what happened. Instead, she said, Don't come back here tomorrow. Patricia nodded. I won't. She walked down the steps. Naomi watched until she reached her car. Then Naomi closed the door. Lily was standing in the hallway, rubbing her eyes. Mommy? Naomi picked her up. Lily rested her head on Naomi's shoulder. For a moment, Naomi stood there listening to her daughter breathe. Then Lily lifted her head. Grandma come? Naomi froze. She hadn't heard the entire conversation. She couldn't have. But somehow the question had arrived anyway. Naomi held her a little closer. No, baby. Lily looked toward the door. Why? Naomi had spent 2 years knowing exactly what she wanted to protect her daughter from. Now she was no longer sure what answer she was supposed to protect her with, and that frightened her more than Patricia's apology ever could. Naomi didn't tell Ethan about Patricia's visit. Not that day. Not the next. She wasn't ready to hear him turn it into hope. A week later, Ethan came to pick Lily up for lunch. Lily was already wearing her shoes when he arrived, though they were on the wrong feet. Daddy, she announced. Grandma came. Ethan stopped halfway through the doorway. Naomi looked at Lily, then at him. Shoes, Naomi said. Lily looked down. They're fine. Go fix them. Lily shuffled toward the bedroom. Ethan lowered his voice. My mom came here? Yes. When? A few days ago. He waited. Naomi folded Lily's tiny jacket over one arm. She apologized. Ethan's face changed. Did she? Naomi looked at him. You knew she would. He hesitated. No. Ethan. He rubbed the back of his neck. I told her she needed to leave you alone. That wasn't my question. Lily began singing loudly from the bedroom. Ethan looked toward the sound, then back at Naomi. What do you want me to say? The truth. He exhaled. For a moment, Naomi thought he would avoid it again. Then he sat down. That alone made her nervous. After a long silence, he said, She told me after Lily was born that I should come get you. What? She said I should bring you and Lily home. Naomi's face went still. Ethan looked at the floor. She said she'd been wrong. And you didn't tell me. I know. You never told me. I didn't think it mattered. Naomi gave a short, disbelieving laugh. It didn't matter? No, I mean, you came to me. You begged me to come back. You told me things would be different. I thought they could be. Could be? Ethan closed his eyes briefly. Naomi stepped closer. Did you ever tell her she was wrong? He didn't answer. Naomi felt her stomach drop. Ethan, I told her she went too far. That is not the same thing. I know. No, you don't. His jaw tightened. Naomi's voice rose before she could stop it. You wanted me to come back into the same house with the same woman, and you hadn't even told her she had no right to throw me out? I was trying to fix it. How? I thought if we got back together. There. Naomi stopped him. He looked at her. You wanted us back together first." Ethan didn't deny it. Naomi felt something old return, not the original pain, but the shape of it. The same confusion, the same sense that Ethan believed good intentions could somehow replace a decision. "You were waiting for me to forgive you," she said. Ethan's eyes dropped. "And I was waiting for you to stop your mother." The words sat between them. Lily's singing stopped. Neither adult moved. Ethan finally said, "I didn't know how to do that." Naomi's expression softened for only a second. Then it disappeared. "You were waiting for your mother to make it easier for you to stand up to her." He looked at her. That was it. The sentence he had spent 2 years avoiding. "I was," he said. Naomi sat down slowly. Her anger was still there. But now something else was underneath it. Exhaustion. Ethan continued. "I kept thinking she would calm down, or say something that would make it easier for me to tell you everything was different." Naomi laughed without humor. "So you needed her permission to protect me from her?" His eyes filled. "No. Yes, you did." He looked away. Naomi sat quietly for a moment. Then she said, "Lily got sick when she was 4 months old." Ethan turned back. "What?" Naomi immediately regretted saying it, but she had started. "She had a fever, nothing serious, but I didn't know that at the time. It was the middle of the night, and she wouldn't stop crying." Ethan's face tightened. "Why didn't you call me?" Naomi looked at him. He already knew. "I almost did." He stopped breathing for a moment. Naomi stared at the floor. "I had my phone in my hand. Naomi, I almost called you." His voice broke. "But you didn't. No. Why?" She looked at him, and Ethan understood before she answered. Because 4 months earlier Naomi had needed him more than she had ever needed anyone. And he had stood there, silent. Naomi's voice was quiet. "I looked at your name and I remembered the last time I needed you to choose me." Ethan covered his mouth. Naomi continued, "I didn't know what kind of father you would be yet. I knew you loved Lily, but I didn't know what would happen when loving us meant disagreeing with somebody else." He nodded slowly. Tears moved down his face. Naomi didn't reach for him. "You didn't lose us because you stopped loving me," she said. Ethan looked up. "You lost us because I stopped believing love would be enough when I needed protection." The front bedroom door opened. Lily came out wearing her shoes correctly. "Ready." Naomi wiped her face quickly. Ethan stood. For a second he looked as though he wanted to say something more. Maybe apologize again. Maybe promise something. Instead he picked up Lily's little jacket. "Okay, kiddo." Lily ran to him. Ethan lifted her into his arms. At the door he looked back at Naomi. "I'm sorry." Naomi nodded once. Not forgiveness, not rejection, just acknowledgement. After they left, Naomi stood in the quiet house. Patricia had caused the first wound. That was still true. But now Naomi could see something she hadn't wanted to separate before. Patricia had told her to leave. Ethan had spent the next 2 years proving he still didn't know how to make her safe enough to come back. And somehow, that realization hurt more, because it meant Patricia's cruelty had created the crisis. But Ethan's avoidance had helped make it permanent. Naomi thought she had time. That was a mistake. She thought Lily was still too young for the questions to become real. A few days after Ethan's visit, Naomi took Lily to a small birthday party at a children's play center. Lily spent most of the afternoon chasing balloons and refusing to wear the paper hat someone kept putting back on her head. Naomi sat near the wall with a cup of coffee while the other parents talked. Then Lily ran toward an older woman sitting beside one of the children. The woman opened her arms. "There you are, sweetheart." "Grandma!" Lily climbed into her lap. The woman kissed the top of her head. Naomi watched without thinking much about it, until Lily came back. She climbed onto the chair beside Naomi and pointed. "Is that her grandma?" Naomi looked over. "Yes." Lily thought about that. Then she looked up. "Do I have one?" Naomi stopped. The music kept playing. Children screamed somewhere behind them. A parent laughed, but Naomi heard none of it clearly. Lily waited. "Mommy?" Naomi forced herself to breathe. "Yes." Lily's face brightened. "Where?" Naomi looked down at her. She had rehearsed difficult conversations with Lily in her mind before. Questions about her father. Questions about why Mommy and Daddy didn't live together. She had never prepared for this one. "You have Grandma Patricia." Lily repeated the name slowly. Patricia. Naomi nodded. Where is she? Naomi looked across the room. I don't know. That wasn't true. Patricia was somewhere in Columbus, living her life, going to work, waiting. But Naomi didn't know where she belonged in Lily's life, and that was the answer she couldn't give a 2-year-old. Later that evening, Lily was drawing at the kitchen table. Naomi was preparing dinner. Lily held up a page. Look, Naomi turned. The drawing was mostly circles. That's beautiful. Mommy, Naomi smiled. Who else? Daddy, another circle. Naomi nodded. Lily, a much smaller circle. Naomi leaned closer. And who's that? Lily pointed at a large scribble in the corner. Grandma Patricia. Naomi's smile faded. You've never met her. I see picture. Of course. Naomi looked at the drawing. A woman Lily didn't know had already entered the small map of her family. Not because Naomi had invited her in, because children understood relationships before they understood history. That night, Naomi sat alone at the kitchen table after Lily went to bed. Her phone lay beside her. She had Patricia's number. She could call, she could say no again. She could make the decision simple, but simplicity had become difficult. Naomi remembered Patricia stepping away from the door when she heard Lily inside. The old Patricia would have moved closer. She would have found a reason. She would have called Ethan. She would have argued. Instead, she had left. Naomi hated that Patricia's restraint had affected her. She didn't want to be impressed by basic respect. She didn't want to wonder whether the woman who once believed she had authority over Naomi had actually learned something. Because if Patricia had changed, then Naomi would eventually have to make another decision. And this one felt more dangerous. For 2 years, Naomi's fear had been clear. Patricia might hurt Lily. But now a different fear began to form. What if Lily loved her? What if Patricia earned that love? What if one day Lily looked at Naomi and asked why she had kept them apart? Naomi knew she could tell her everything. The old house, the pregnancy, the suitcase, the silence. But even then, what would Lily hear? That her mother had suffered, or that her grandmother was someone she was supposed to punish forever? Naomi put both hands around her cup. She had spent 2 years building a life where no one could control her decisions. Now she wondered if she was in danger of making Lily's future entirely out of the choices she had once needed to make for herself. The next morning, Patricia did not call. She didn't text. She didn't come to the house. A week passed. Nothing. Naomi noticed. She hated that she noticed. Then Ethan mentioned it casually during one of his visits. My mom's leaving you alone. Naomi looked at him. I know. She told me not to bring Lily to see her. Naomi went still. What? She said it wasn't her decision. She said if you ever wanted Lily to meet her, you'd decide when, not me. Naomi said nothing. He waited. So what? Does that change anything? Naomi looked toward the living room. Lily was arranging stuffed animals in a line. One fell over. She picked it up and put it back. Then another fell. She picked that one up too. Naomi watched her. I don't know. And for the first time, that answer was honest. She had spent 2 years believing she knew exactly what Lily needed. But Lily was growing. Soon, Naomi's decisions would have to leave room for Lily's questions. And Naomi was beginning to understand something she had never wanted to face. Protecting her daughter was her responsibility. But deciding that Lily could never have a relationship with someone who might have changed, that was something else. Naomi picked up her phone. She looked at Patricia's number. Her thumb hovered over it. Then Lily called from the living room. Mommy. Naomi put the phone down. Coming. She walked toward her daughter. The decision could wait. But not forever. Because now there was someone else inside the story. And one day, Lily would be old enough to ask Naomi for the truth. Naomi called Patricia on a Tuesday morning. The moment Patricia answered, Naomi almost hung up. Naomi, I don't have much time. Patricia went quiet. Okay. Naomi stood by the kitchen window. Lily was at the table behind her, trying to peel a sticker from a sheet. I need to ask you something. Ask me. Naomi took a breath. What do you think you want from Lily? The question seemed to catch Patricia off guard. I want to know her. Naomi waited. Patricia continued carefully. I want to know what she likes, what makes her laugh. I want her to know who I am. And if she doesn't? Silence. Naomi closed her eyes. If she doesn't like you? If she doesn't want to hug you? If she grows up and decides she doesn't want a relationship with you, Patricia answered more slowly, then that will hurt. But she gets to decide. Naomi turned around. Lily had finally peeled off the sticker. She raised it proudly. Mommy! 1 second, baby. Naomi faced the window again. That's easy to say now. Yes. And if I tell you you're not allowed to see her? Patricia didn't answer immediately. Naomi waited. Finally, Patricia said, then I will be hurt. That wasn't my question. I know. Naomi tightened her grip on the phone. Patricia took a breath. If you tell me no, I won't go around you. Naomi's throat tightened. Why should I believe that? You shouldn't. Not because I said it. The answer stopped her. You should believe it only if I keep proving it. Naomi looked down. For years she had wanted Patricia to say the right thing. Now Patricia was saying something Naomi couldn't use against her because it wasn't asking for anything. That made it harder. Do you know what scares me? Naomi asked. Patricia was quiet. What? Naomi sat down. I know how to protect Lily from someone who hasn't changed. Patricia said nothing. I don't know how to protect her from someone who has. The words surprised Naomi. She hadn't planned to say them, but once they were spoken, she couldn't take them back. Patricia's voice became very soft. You can't. Naomi frowned. What? You can't protect her from everything. Naomi's expression hardened. Don't tell me what I can. No. Patricia interrupted herself quickly. I don't mean you shouldn't protect her. I mean you can't guarantee she won't be disappointed, or hurt, or confused. Naomi stared ahead. Patricia continued, and if I am ever the reason she is hurt, that will be my responsibility, not yours. Naomi swallowed. For 2 years, responsibility had been the thing she carried most heavily. Lily's safety, Lily's home, Lily's happiness, every choice, every consequence. Naomi had built her entire life around making sure she would never again depend on somebody else to do what needed to be done. And now the most difficult thing wasn't protecting Lily. It was accepting that protection had limits. You don't get to hurt her, Naomi said. I know. And you don't get to use her to get to Ethan. I won't. You don't get to question me in front of her. I won't. You don't get to tell her things about me, about Ethan, about any of this because you think she deserves your version. I won't. Naomi paused. Patricia said, you can have all the rules you need. Naomi almost laughed. You don't even know the rules yet. I know. Then why are you agreeing? Patricia was quiet for a moment. Because 2 years ago, I thought every boundary was an insult. Naomi's eyes filled. And now I know some boundaries are there because someone has been hurt. The line went quiet. Naomi could hear Patricia breathing. Then she said, I don't forgive you. I know. I may never forgive you. I understand. And this doesn't mean I trust you. I know. Naomi leaned back in her chair. For once, Patricia wasn't trying to pull the conversation toward the answer she wanted. She was simply standing inside the answer Naomi had given. Naomi looked toward Lily. Mommy, look. Naomi smiled. I see it. She turned back to the phone. I need to think. Take your time. Naomi almost ended the call. Then she stopped. One more thing. Yes? Don't call me again. Patricia's silence lasted only a second. Okay. If this happens, it will happen because I decide it happens. I understand. Naomi ended the call. For several minutes, she sat there with the phone in her hand. She had expected the conversation to make things clearer. Instead, it made the decision harder. Patricia might never deserve forgiveness. Ethan might never deserve the marriage he had failed to protect. And Naomi might never feel completely certain about what came next. But certainty wasn't available anymore. Not if Lily was going to have a future larger than Naomi's fear. Naomi looked at her daughter. Lily had placed the sticker on the rabbit's forehead. Pretty, Lily said. Naomi smiled. Then Lily looked up. Grandma Patricia? The smile disappeared. Naomi felt the decision settle inside her, not as relief but as responsibility. She still had the right to say no. But if she said yes, it would not mean the past had been forgiven. It would mean something much harder. Naomi would be giving Patricia a chance to prove that she had finally learned the difference between being part of a family and believing she owned a place in it. Naomi did not make the decision that day, or the next. For almost 2 weeks, Patricia did exactly what she had promised. Nothing. She didn't call, she didn't text, she didn't ask Ethan to speak for her, and Naomi noticed every day that she didn't. Then, one Saturday morning, Naomi sent a single message. "Tomorrow, 1 hour, the park near my house." Patricia replied less than a minute later. "Thank you. Nothing else." The next afternoon, Naomi arrived with Lily 10 minutes early. Lily ran toward the playground, then stopped when she saw the swings. "Mommy, push me. In a minute." Naomi sat on a bench. Her stomach felt tight. This was her decision. She could still leave. Then Patricia appeared. She had come alone. Naomi noticed that first. No Ethan, no sister, no one who could turn the meeting into a family reunion. Patricia walked toward them slowly, then stopped several feet away. "Hi." Naomi nodded. Patricia looked toward Lily. Lily was staring at her. Naomi's hand moved slightly toward her daughter without Naomi realizing it. Patricia noticed. She stayed where she was. "Hi, Lily," Patricia said. Lily pressed against Naomi's side. "Who you?" Patricia smiled, but her eyes filled. "I'm Patricia." Lily looked up at Naomi. "Grandma?" Naomi felt Patricia glance at her, waiting. Naomi nodded. "Yes, this is Grandma Patricia." Patricia's face tightened, but she didn't step forward. "Can I say hello?" she asked Lily. Lily studied her, then held out the stuffed rabbit she had brought from home. "Bunny." Patricia looked at it. "What's Bunny's name?" Lily frowned. "Bunny." Naomi almost laughed. Patricia did too. "Of course it is." That broke some of the tension. Only a little. Patricia sat on the far end of the bench. Lily kept watching her. Patricia didn't reach for her, didn't ask for a hug, didn't pull out a present. She simply sat there. After a few minutes, Lily slid down from the bench. "Swing." Naomi stood. Patricia remained seated. Naomi looked at her. "You can come." Patricia hesitated. "Are you sure?" "For the swing." Patricia nodded. Lily climbed onto it and held the chains. "Push." Naomi stepped behind her. Then Lily looked at Patricia. "Grandma, push." Everything stopped. Naomi's eyes met Patricia's. Patricia didn't move. She waited. Naomi swallowed. "Small pushes." Patricia nodded. Lily held out her feet. Patricia stepped behind the swing. Then she pushed. Once, twice, gently. Lily laughed. The sound hit Naomi harder than she expected. She had imagined this moment so many different ways, Patricia crying, Naomi regretting it, Lily refusing her, some great sign that Naomi had made the right decision. Instead, it was just a little girl laughing while someone pushed a swing. Naomi sat on the bench again. She watched Patricia carefully. Patricia knew it, but she didn't look back. She kept her attention on Lily. After a while, Lily wanted to go down the slide. Patricia followed but stopped every time Naomi gave a direction. "She's not comfortable with that." Patricia nodded. "Okay. Let her climb herself." "Okay." Naomi heard herself. The way she watched, the way she corrected, she almost felt guilty. Then she remembered she didn't have to. Trust wasn't a switch. It was a history being written. After an hour, Naomi stood. "Time to go." Patricia immediately stepped back. Lily waved. "Bye, Grandma." Patricia covered her mouth for a second, then she lowered her hand. "Bye, Lily." Lily ran toward Naomi. Patricia turned to leave. "Patricia." She stopped. Naomi walked closer. "That was 1 hour. I know. This isn't every week. I understand, and it doesn't mean you can start calling Lily yours." Patricia's face changed. Naomi held her gaze. "You can be her grandmother." Patricia nodded. "But you are not entitled to her." A tear rolled down Patricia's cheek. "I know." Naomi believed that she understood the words. Whether Patricia could live by them was something else. Patricia walked away. Lily took Naomi's hand. "Grandma nice." Naomi looked down. "Yeah?" Lily nodded. "Push good." Naomi laughed despite herself. "That seems to be your highest standard." Lily smiled. Naomi started toward the car. Behind them, Patricia was walking in the opposite direction. For the first time, Naomi understood exactly what she had offered. Not forgiveness, not restoration, not a return to the family they once imagined. Just 1 hour. And 1 hour was enough to begin. But Naomi knew beginnings could be taken away just as quickly as they were given. The next time Patricia crossed a boundary, there would be consequences. And Patricia knew it too. That was why Naomi had not given her family back. She had given her something much smaller, a chance to show that she had finally learned how to belong. The first meeting did not fix anything. Naomi made sure of that. Patricia saw Lily again 2 weeks later. Then, after another month, Naomi allowed them to spend an afternoon together at a library children's program. Patricia followed every boundary. Sometimes Naomi wondered whether she was waiting for her to fail. That thought made her uncomfortable, because she had spent 2 years wanting Patricia to understand that love did not give her permission to take control. Now Patricia was learning, slowly, and Naomi had to decide what she would do if the change lasted. One afternoon, Lily came home carrying a paper bracelet Patricia had helped her make. "Grandma, make it," Lily announced. Naomi examined the bracelet. It was crooked and covered in too much glue. "Very fancy. It's pretty." "It is," Lily smiled. Then she ran to show it to Ethan. Naomi looked toward him. He had come by to pick Lily up. He held the bracelet carefully. "Wow," Lily nodded. "Grandma, help." Ethan looked at Naomi. For a moment, neither of them spoke. Then he said, "Thank you." Naomi understood what he meant. She shook her head. "Don't." Ethan looked down. "I know." This was not a gift to him. Naomi had not reopened the door to Patricia, so Ethan could imagine the old family returning. Ethan had changed in some ways too. Not quickly, not perfectly, but he had stopped hiding behind good intentions. When Patricia once complained that Naomi was being too strict about visits, Ethan didn't smooth it over. He told her Naomi was Lily's mother. When Patricia called Ethan later and apologized, he accepted the apology but did not pretend the damage had disappeared. And when Naomi heard about it, she felt something unexpected, not relief, grief, because Ethan had finally learned how to do what she had needed years earlier, just not when it could have saved them. A few weeks later, Ethan asked Naomi if they could talk after Lily went to bed. Naomi almost said no. Instead, she stood in the kitchen while he leaned against the counter. "I've been thinking," he said. "That usually worries me." He smiled faintly. For a second, they were younger again. Then it passed. "I know." Naomi waited. Ethan looked at his hands. "I used to think if I loved you enough, eventually you'd understand why I was sorry." Naomi said nothing. "But being sorry isn't the same as becoming someone safe." Her expression changed. Ethan continued, "I didn't know how to stand up to my mother, so I kept hoping you would come back before I had to." Naomi looked toward the hallway. Lily was asleep. The house was quiet. "And now?" she asked. "Now I know you shouldn't." Naomi looked at him. He met her eyes. "Come back, I mean." The words settled between them. There was no dramatic reunion, no promise that they would start over. Just a man finally understanding that regret did not create entitlement. Naomi nodded once. Ethan picked up his keys. At the door, he stopped. "I hope someday you can forgive me." Naomi looked at him. "Maybe." He nodded. That was more than he expected. After he left, Naomi locked the door and stood there for a moment. Once she had locked doors because she was afraid of who might come through them. Now she locked them because this was home. The difference mattered. Months passed. Patricia remained careful, not perfect. Once she gave Lily a cookie after Naomi had already said no. Naomi addressed it immediately. Patricia apologized. She did not say, "It was only one cookie." She did not call Ethan. She simply said, "You were right. You said no." And Naomi saw that Patricia understood something she had never understood before. Small moments mattered. Respect mattered most when nobody agreed. By Lily's 3rd birthday, Patricia was allowed to attend the small celebration. She arrived early to help set up, then stopped at the kitchen door. "Where do you want me?" Naomi almost smiled. The question was so ordinary. Yet years earlier, Patricia would have walked into the kitchen and decided for herself. "Plates are in that cabinet." Patricia nodded. "Okay." Lily came running into the room. "Grandma." Patricia bent down. Lily threw her arms around her. Patricia closed her eyes. Naomi watched. There it was, the moment she had once feared. Lily loved her, not because Naomi had forgotten, not because Patricia had erased what happened, because Lily had been allowed to meet the person Patricia had become. Naomi still remembered the night she left. She remembered being 8 months pregnant. She remembered looking at Ethan. Waiting, she remembered the silence. None of it had disappeared. It never would. But standing in her own kitchen, Naomi understood something she had needed years to learn. The boundaries that saved her did not have to become walls Lily inherited forever. Patricia had learned that family did not guarantee access. Ethan had learned that peace without courage could become abandonment. And Naomi had learned that protecting her daughter did not mean deciding every relationship her daughter would ever have. Lily ran back toward the living room. Patricia watched her go. Then she turned toward Naomi. "Thank you." Naomi held her gaze. "I haven't forgotten. I know. And I'm not going to. I know." Naomi nodded. For once, Patricia did not ask for anything more. That was how Naomi knew the change was real. The family had not been restored. It had become something else. Smaller, more careful, more honest, and maybe stronger because nobody could pretend the past had never happened. Naomi looked toward the living room. Lily was laughing. Patricia went to join her, stopping only long enough to ask Naomi if she needed help first. Naomi shook her head. "No, go ahead." Patricia smiled and walked toward her granddaughter. Naomi stayed where she was, watching, not surrendering, not forgetting, just allowing her daughter a future that did not have to be built entirely from the wound Naomi once needed to survive. And for Naomi, that was enough. What would you have done if you were Naomi? Would you have given Patricia a second chance to know Lily? Or would some boundaries remain permanent after what happened? Tell us honestly in the comments. And if this story reminded you that love without respect can become control, and peace without courage can become abandonment, please like, share, and subscribe to Mr. Graham Stories. Because here, every story leaves a lesson.
Thank you for watching Mr. Graham Stories, my beautiful, amazing family.